Well, a couple months ago, we began a series of videos called How Ag Technology Works. We did a part 1 video on creating variable rate prescriptions, whether it be fertilizer or seeding or line prescriptions. And we do that on our desktop during the winter before our planting season begins. And today we're actually implementing those prescriptions that we created back in January. Right now I'm utilizing a planting prescription or a seeding prescription to variable rate apply seed across the land. If you remember, the reasoning behind this is that when you have a field, you have a bunch of different factors in that field that contribute to yield. Not all ground is the same, and it's not all the same within the same field. You've got your high yielding spots and you have your low yielding spots all across the field. Some parts of the field are capable of yielding more than other parts of the field. So if not all parts of the field are capable of yielding the same, why would you put the same amount of inputs across the field? Because you'd either be shorting your yield in your high yielding places or putting out more inputs in your low yielding places than what the crop can actually utilize, which all of this can lead to increased costs. So right now we're on a farm. It's a decent farm, but it's got a bunch of variability in this farm. What we do is we take our yield maps from previous years and we analyze it with what we call a multi-year yield analysis tool, and it analyzes the yield maps for consistently high yielding areas and consistently low yielding areas. And then in these areas, I will go in and I will assign a seeding rate for that area of the field. And our seeding rates will vary anywhere from 17,000 seeds per acre on our extremely poorest ground, our extremely lowest yielding ground, upwards to 30,000 seeds per acre on our best yielding parts of the ground. 30,000 seeds per acre is about the maximum amount of seeds per acre we can plant on 38-inch rows and still get a good yield. That's giving us an average yield spacing of about 5.5 inches in between seeds. You get much closer than that you get much closer than 5.5 inches in between corn plants, and then you run the risk of hurting your yield because there's too much competition within the row. This planter that we're using is a Kinsey 3600 planter. It's brand new to us to this year, 2020, and we've had it upgraded with the latest technology on it. This planter is capable of variable rate planting seeds. It has electric drive on it, which means that it has an electric motor on each single unit that can speed up or slow down the seed plate. This planter is equipped with vacuum, which is more precise than mechanical meters. Got a fan on. We have a fan on the planter that creates suction and pulls air through the seed meters. It creates a vacuum on the seed plate. Each seed plate has multiple holes on it, and one seed is supposed to fit in each hole, and you have vacuum going through the plates, and it sucks one seed onto each hole, and then as the meter turns, the seed is released precisely. This planter is also equipped with hydraulic downforce. It has the ability to measure the load on the gauge wheels up to 5 times each second. And this is a really good tool for us in that, you know, you have throughout a field, you've got you got a bunch of different soil types. You got different moisture levels. You got different compaction levels. And hydraulic downforce has the ability to vary how much downforce each unit needs in order to maintain good contact with the ground. This will make sure you have very even seed placement. If you have too much downforce, then you run the risk of compacting the soil in the seed trench, and this compaction will inhibit early season root growth and could ultimately affect yields. In the past, you know, older planters, they had springs that applied downforce on each unit, and it was basically you set the springs and you go plant. Well, there's no way to vary the amount of down pressure when you're using springs, and you know, you get into a wetter part of the field and you're creating compaction, and ultimately you're losing yields for the whole year. It's been said that 60% of your yield is set as soon as your planter leaves the field. So, you know, one operation can affect up to 60% of your yield. You really need to get that operation right. And hydraulic downforce and the variable rate plant, all of these are tools that allow us to get the job done right the first time. When it comes to planters, you basically got 3 types of planters, and we're talking about planters here. We're not talking about grain drills. You know, planters haven't changed a whole lot up until recently. You know, going back decades ago, a planter consisted of a row unit that had the gauge wheels to measure depth. It had double discs on it to open a seed trench, and then it had some kind of metering mechanism to drop the seed into the trench at a constant rate. Well, over the last couple of decades, the technology on these planters has increased dramatically. And it started out with introducing vacuum to planters, which allows for a more precise metering on each unit. Then you know, some planters have bulk fill. The planter that we're running has individual boxes on each row that you put seed into instead of one big tank on the back. And the reason for this is it just gives us more flexibility on doing plot work and testing different things. Probably, I don't know, probably 15, maybe 20 years ago, you know, originally planters had been driven by your ground speed. The planters were driven by chains and sprockets, and each planter had a transmission on it that was real similar to what you would find on, say, a 10-speed bicycle. You could change sprockets around to increase or decrease your planting rate. Then again, you were limited to whatever sprocket combination you used, and you were putting out a flat rate of seed. So planters were like that for decades, and then about 15, maybe 20 years ago, they kind of came out with hydraulic drive, which consists of a hydraulic motor. It consists of a hydraulic motor in place of the chain and sprocket transmissions. And if you had a GPS guided computer in the tractor, you could vary the speed of that hydraulic motor and be able to variable rate seed. And it was a good technology. It did add complexity to the planter, but it worked well. Our previous planter, we added hydraulic drive to it probably about 7-8 years ago, and it worked well for us for years. But we also, in addition to that hydraulic drive, we had to have another system on there in order to in order to shut off each individual unit as it passes over into a planted area. You know, if you double plant an area, you know, for one thing, you're over applying seed, which increase your cost quite a bit. And then you also have the chance of decreasing your yield because you've got too many plants in a given area. So we basically had to have two systems on the planter to minimize our expenses and maximize our yield. But with this planter, we don't have to have clutches on it. We don't have to have a hydraulic motor to drive because we have electric motors on each individual unit. So when the planter crosses into an area that's already been planted, each motor on the unit will stop as it crosses over into an already planted area. And also you can vary the electric current to each motor, what the computer does, which will either speed the motor up or slow it down, which gives you the ability to variable rate apply. So with this type of system, we can be extremely precise in how we place seed. This variable rate technology, it works on other things other than the planter. Take fertilizer for example. You know, we spread dry fertilizer with a fertilizer buggy, and it had in the belt delivery chain on it that delivers fertilizer to the spinners, which spreads it, is driven by a hydraulic motor. So the hydraulic motor can either speed the belt up or slow it down to either apply more fertilizer or less fertilizer. As we talked about in our earlier video, you know, the nutrient levels across the field are not uniform. So if you apply a blanket application of fertilizer, in some areas you're applying too much fertilizer and wasting money, and in other areas you're not applying enough fertilizer and you're hurting yield. And the same principle also applies to lime. The pH is not going to be the same across the field, and then you know, variable rate apply the amount of lime you need to try and bring all the soil up to a consistent pH. But we also have the ability to variable rate apply fertilizers and chemicals in the liquid form with our sprayer. It can variable rate. It can vary the amount of flow going to the booms and what you're spraying out as you go across the field. All right, here's the brains of our operation. I'm going to try and point out a few features while we're sitting still here. It's kind of hard to do while I'm driving, but anyway, this is the Precision Planting Generation 3 2020 monitor, and this is what controls the planter. It's also what gives us a tremendous amount of information, a bunch of different metrics to look at to ensure that the planter is doing the job that it's capable of doing. Alright, starting out, I'm going to show you what our seeding prescription looks like. This is what we created on our computer back this winter. As you can tell, we have our rates right here on the left. Pink is high rate, and then with red being the low rate. So we got a bunch of higher population areas through here, and then around the edges where it's typically lower yielding, we have a lot lower population, so we're not wasting seed. Then go back to our population map. So this is what we all already planted right here in this field. As you can tell, over here on the left is the rates that we've applied. You know, with green being a higher rate and red being the low rate. And you can tell as we go across the field, the planter is varying the amount of seed that it's applying. We'll switch over to the hydraulic downforce. And this is the amount of force that the hydraulic cylinders are applying to each unit as we go across the field. And see here, down here, purple is not applying much downforce at all because it doesn't need it. And then as you get on up here to yellow and orange, it's applying a lot more downforce, up to 500 pounds, in order to make sure that that unit has good ground contact with the soil. You can tell up here in say up here in this area, you know, this is the entrance to the field right here, and then this is normally where we park the truck. So the ground is more compacted and requires more downforce. Turn around. It requires more downforce in order to maintain good contact with the ground. This stretch right up through there it's real hard ground. It's real thin, doesn't have a whole lot of topsoil. It's been eroded, so it's real tough ground. Right down through here where you see the purple, and right here is a place where we did some dirt work, and we've hauled some loose dirt in to fill in some washes. So the dirt's pretty soft. It doesn't need a whole lot of down pressure there. But as you zoom in, you see each row is measured, and it varies across each row. So we have a whole lot of flexibility with this planter to make sure we get each row right. This metric right here measures good ride, the amount of ground contact each unit has had. Red is dropping below less than 80% ground contact with the gauge wheels, and green, it means we got close to 100% ground contact with the wheels. So if we had springs still on these units instead of downforce, you would see the unit bouncing a lot more and losing a lot more ground contact with the soil. All right, right up here, we got our population, and it will change from left to right as we cross into the zones that are causing for different seed rates. The left side of the planter may be putting out a different rate than the right side. This planter also has the capability of measuring singulation. With corn seed, you want to drop one seed and one seed only. If you drop two seeds, then you got two seeds directly competing with each other, which will reduce yield. If you have a skip, well, then you've got a blank spot in the row where there's not going to be a plant, so it's a lost ear. So you're going to lose yield that way. Down here is measuring our downforce. The margin is how much load is on each gauge wheel. Ground contact, we want to see that close to 100%. Maintain ground contact. And over here on the right, we got other metrics. Show us percentage of skips, multiples, how good our ride is, and the seed rate index, which is just a measure of how well each seed is releasing from the meter and being accurately placed. Right here we've got our V drive, which is the electric drive motors, and we've got swath control turned on. And I prefer to run this at a split screen so we can see multiple things at once. Typically leave this one on downforce and keep this one on population. So here's our singulation map. Green means good, is putting down one seed each time. Any little red dots you see is where a seed was skipped. Means a seed was not placed there. And then blue dots is where you drop more than one seed at an instance. All right, let me start planting, go through here and let you see how it works for yourself. Up here we got our speed. This icon shows that we're using radar speed. Right here we've got our vacuum pressure, which we want to maintain about 20 inches of water vacuum. All right, we just let our planter down. Why do we not have part of the planter planting? Oh, I accidentally hit a switch right here. The cutoff part of it. Let me back up. Alright, as you can tell, the 8 rows right here are cut off and only 4 rows are planting because only 4 rows were missed on the previous pass. Right here we got 99.9% singulation, which is real good. It's pretty much impossible to keep 100% singulation, but get over 99%, the meters are doing a real good job. See our population up here changing. Right now we're in a 25,000. Well, it just switched over to a lower population. Alright, we're in a real low population right now. We're jumping back up, 20,000. Should be going up again in just a minute. Jumped up to 22,000 or 23,000. Fixing to jump up again as we're getting into a more productive part of the field. 25,000. 27,000. You can watch our downforce here, or our ground contact. You know, we try to maintain probably above at least 95%. We'd really like to see it about 99% to 100% ground contact. This field is a little rougher though, so you're not going to keep 100% ground contact all the time. Watch our downforce maps. They have purple. We just went over a place of loose soil where we filled in a wash. Now we got some farmer soil, some no-till ground right there. You see how the hydraulic downforce is varying across each unit. Alright, on this Pro 700 monitor, we have an example of, it's probably one of the first precision technologies to come along, which is called Autosteer, where you can actually program the tractor to drive itself, to steer itself, so you can pay attention to other details of your operation. But see right here, we have a swath already selected in this field. And it's represented by these guidance lines right here. Right now we're using a straight line, and this is how farmers get such straight rows in their fields, by using GPS. You mark an A point on one end of the pass and then a B point on the other end of the pass, and the computer draws a straight line between those 2 points. So right now we're running on RTK, which is the highest level precision available. It is sub-inch accuracy, so the tractor knows within an inch of where it actually is in the field. So from each pass to pass, you know, we're gonna have no more than an inch variance from each pass. Right here is our Crosstrack Error, which tells us how far away the tractor is from the intended path. And with, like I said, with RTK, you know, we like to see a Crosstrack error of less than an inch. Occasionally it varies a little bit more than that, but for the most part it will stay within an inch. So I got at the edge of the field. I want to turn around manually with the steering wheel. Then we'll get about a 45-degree angle. I'm gonna hit my Autosteer button, and now the tractor is taking over steering. And now I can watch the planer and monitor everything else that's going on and let the tractor drive itself. Right now, you can't see it, but I'm not touching the steering wheel at all. And now that it's on the line, you know, it's maintaining a Crosstrack error of less than an inch for the most part. Now this technology, Autosteer, has been around for probably 25 years or more. And it's definitely one of the most handiest tools that we've got. It takes a lot of stress off the operator. We don't get tired as quick because we're not having to concentrate on steering the tractor and making it go where it needs to go. And we can sit up here and monitor other functions, especially the planer, to make sure it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Alright, we're about to come up on the end of the rows here. I'm on a downshift. Make sure I get all of it planted. Now I pick the planter up, and now I'm steering the tractor myself. The Autosteer automatically disengages when you turn the steering wheel. So I'm turning the tractor, getting close to the next pass, and I just hit the Autosteer button again, and the tractor's taking over. Pretty amazing that it's pretty amazing that the technology that we have here in agriculture now. Well, there you go. That's a brief overview of the technology that we use in the field. I'll try to make another video later on when we actually start harvesting to show how we actually gather the data that goes into creating these prescriptions, our actual yield data, which is very critical to us. So, you know, when you look at everything that's available to us, and especially what has become available to us, you know, over the last decade to 2 decades, it's really amazing the amount of information and the amount of precision that we have available to us right now. You know, we can be good stewards of the land, we can minimize the inputs that we use, and we can also minimize the expenses that we have to invest in a crop in order to make a high quality crop at a low cost. So thanks for watching this video. If you like this video and the kind of content that we produce here at Griggs Farms LLC, be sure to hit the subscribe button. We try to, as time allows, regularly update videos about what we're doing on the farm. So thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our other videos.